Thank you for tuning in to Exeter TV. The meeting will be starting shortly. While we wait, let's learn more about Exeter TV. Exeter TV is the town's public and government access channels, available on Comcast channels 98 and 22. Channel 98 is your channel. If you have an idea for a program, want to host your own talk show, or submit a film, we're here to get your content on television. On Channel 22, we bring you live and replay coverage of government meetings and other town updates. A third channel, Blue Hawk Media, is operated by SAU 16 and can be found on Channel 13, with all your school sports, events, and meetings. You can watch Exeter TV online at exeternh.tv, Apple TV, and on Roku. Find us on social media for extra content. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell to get notified about live streams and new content. Tune in to our platforms every other Friday to watch the Exeter Biweekly Report, with recaps of recent events, updates from town departments, and messages from nonprofits in your area. If you head to our website, exeternh.tv, we invite you to sign up to our newsletter to receive monthly updates about new content, upcoming meetings, and more. We'd like to thank you for taking the time to watch.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Town of Exeter, April 25th, 2022 Select Board meeting. The first item on our agenda is for the board to enter into a non-public session very briefly. And with that, I would entertain a motion to go into non-public under RSA 91A32C.
So moved.
Second.
It's a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk.
Selectwoman Roundtree Olaf.
Aye.
Selectwoman Belanger.
Aye.
And the clerk says aye. Mr. Chair.
Aye. Motion passes 4-0. We'll be in non-public for just a few minutes. Okay, good evening. The board has returned from non-public. I wish everybody, again, a good evening. Good evening to my colleagues on the board, respective town staff, those here in attendance this evening, and those at home watching on TV. And again, welcome to the April 25th, 2022 Exeter Select Board meeting. I'd like to start by introducing the board. To my right, Selectwoman Lovey Roundtree-Olaf. Good evening.
Good evening.
The Vice Chair, Selectwoman Molly Cowan. Good evening.
Good evening.
Our Clerk, Selectwoman Julie Gilman. Good evening.
Good evening.
And Selectwoman Nancy Belanger. Good evening.
Good evening.
And to my left, all the way down to the end, our Town Manager, Mr. Dean. Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Nico Papakostendis. Before we get into public comment, I would like to take a moment to honor and remember our colleague, Ann Sermon, who passed away last week. In addition to serving 2 terms on the Select Board, Ann volunteered many, many years on the Budget Recommendations Committee and took pride in her work and always looking out for the taxpayers and the citizens of the town of Exeter. In working with Ann, you'd find that she was always prepared. Her arguments were articulate and well thought, and she did everything that she thought was the right thing for our community. She truly loved this town and the people in this town. And after serving 2 terms on the board, her work did not stop there. She chaired the Police Stakeholders Committee, a committee created for a short period of time by the Select Board to work with our police department in terms of making progress in policing. Ann chaired that committee admirably and took great pride in the work and the final result that they presented to the board. And up until her death, Ann served as an alternate on the Zoning Board of Adjustment. Ann was very passionate about her work. And from a personal standpoint, you know, Ann and I didn't always agree on things. And sometimes our conversations were spirited, but they were with respect. And after Ann chose not to run for a 3rd term, she stayed in regular contact with me. She would call me, not only to offer her advice or what she thought the board should be doing, but during some rough periods during COVID and the pandemic, Ann called to voice her support and how proud she was of how the board handled the pandemic. I will miss Ann, because in addition to our community and serving on the board, we had a mutual love for the game of baseball. And I don't want to take up a lot of time here, but I have to say that when we marched in the Christmas parade in 2019, my son Teo, who's a baseball player, marched with Ann for a long period of time, and they talked baseball the entire time. And we got home, and he said to me, "Dad, that Miss Sermon's pretty cool." I know that some of my colleagues and folks out there would like to offer some words, but before we do that, let's pause and please honor our friend Ann Sermon with a moment of silence, please. Thank you. May her memory be eternal. Open it up to members of the board, Mr. Dean.
I would, I don't know if this, can you guys, who knows? I just want to say that I didn't know Ann extremely well, having been not able to sit on the board with her, but I have a lot of respect for her. She epitomizes what I think people who serve civic roles should look like. She gave her all, and not only did she give her time sitting on the board, but she was always present during conversations that she deemed important to fellow citizens. Even if her opinion wasn't the majority, And I think that's an important voice to have in conversations because it teaches us, oh, there's a different point of view that maybe we're not considering. And so I have a lot of respect and appreciation, and very sad to see that we've lost someone so important to the town as quickly as we did. So to her family, I, send my condolences, and I'm really sorry that she wasn't able to be with us longer.
Thank you.
Shall I go? I would like to echo both the Selectwoman Roundtree Olaf's comments and the Chair's comments. I did serve with Ann for those 2 terms on the Select Board, and while we didn't always agree, she was very articulate and could convince me to think otherwise, which was good. It's a good conversation to have on a board when we're not all just saying, yeah, okay, there's another point of view, and like I said, very articulate. Always looking out for how things would be read by the people who don't follow our meetings, who aren't following every detail that we do here, bringing that back to our attention. When sometimes we get caught up in what we know and forget that people out there don't know what we know. And Ann would always be a reminder that we have to explain everything each time, not just at the end or the beginning. So I will miss her occasional please call me emails, which meant a good conversation would be had. But like I said, she made a place in town for herself and her friends and family, and I will miss it.
I would love to lift up her great care and love of animals, and the fact that she made me be a better board member, and I will miss her.
And I'm just going to say yes to everything that everyone has said. I go back as far as the Exeter, the cable TV committee, which has been long gone. Jay was on that. But yeah, my deepest sympathies and condolences to her family, her friends. She was very dedicated to our town, and I think she'll always be remembered for that.
My comments, Mr. Chair, first of all, I want to express my condolences to the family as well. I know Ann expected a lot out of this position as town manager. She brought that to each meeting. The words that I came up with while I was thinking about this are due diligence. I think Ann was exceptional at due diligence. She always had her ducks in a row and did her homework, which is a great trait to have in a select board member. She was also tough-minded. There were times we didn't agree, but I always felt that she brought a good argument to the table when she was making those arguments on what she thought should be done. I also found her to be a very dedicated volunteer. As you said, Mr. Chair, after her terms, she stepped up to volunteer on other boards and committees, and that was great to see. And then finally, I just echoed the sentiment you expressed with being a big fan of baseball, as was I, and am I. So we always found a common ground that we could work from.
Thank you. This time, we'd like to invite any of the members of the public who'd like to step up and remember Ann.
Thank you all for your kind remarks. J. Child, 7 Hunter Place in Exeter. I'm not good at this. Last week, Ann Sermon's family, including her beloved husband Tom, lost a precious loved one. Her many, many, many friends lost one of our most loyal, kind, and generous souls. And we all knew what an honor it was to be called among her friends. But Exeter, the town, and its people, lost one of its finest public servants and advocates for others, both in and out of elective office. A partial list of her service speaks volumes about her dedication to others. Ann served on the Exeter Select Board for 2 terms, Exeter Crime Line, Police Stakeholders as a chair, the Zoning Board, the Exeter Budget Advisory Committee for 8 years, so she had a penchant for punishment, at the Exeter Chamber's Holiday Decorating Committee for over 20 years, the National Ski Patrol at Ski Bradford for 20 years, the Cable Television Committee. She also volunteered and participated in Relay for Life, MS 150 bike ride, equine horse rescue, New Hampshire SPCA, the Cachiko Valley Animal Shelter, among many, many other acts of service and selflessness. What stands out most for me when thinking of Anne's service to the town is her curiosity. Anne had strong opinions, you think? But those opinions were formed from a tireless desire to listen and to learn from others, as she considered what she thought was best for the town. Even when I disagreed with a position that Anne held, I know hers came from sound judgment and doing the diligent work of learning as much as possible. And the best part was, after spirited and even heated discussion or debate, and even if we still disagreed, we could go laugh over a beer about it, and then talk about another love of hers, baseball, and the quagmire that often is the Boston Red Sox. Or she'd update me on the latest exploits of New Hampshire's own major leaguer, Sam Fuld. But as much dedication as Anne showed to serving people, her heart's passion belonged to helping animals, cats, horses, and hers and Tom's many, many dogs. I'll never name them all, but each is and was a precious soul to them. Katie, Moses, Clipper, Sydney, Joey, Ernie, Monty, Beatrice, the list goes on and on. If you scanned Anne's social media, seldom did you find a picture that didn't feature a dog, or more like a pack of dogs, running on the beach, hiking, or posing together with Anne, Tom, and their friends. If ever a human would be invited to cross over the Rainbow Bridge, reserved for our animal friends, it is Anne. What a reunion they must be having. Many of us are still in shock that someone who nourished us with her boundless energy, hearty laugh, and kindness is no longer with us. You feel that kind of void with a particular intensity. Exeter is feeling that void. When such a beloved friend is gone, but she is still with us in her example of friendship and service, and her love for this town. I send our prayers and our love to Anne Louise Sermon's family and many, many friends. And thank you for the moment of silence.
Thank you, Jay.
Mr.
That was
Childs.
well said.
Would anybody else like to share a memory of Anne, or?
Say something else.
In a moment, please. Yep. Okay. Thank you all. Okay, we're now going to move on to public comment. This is an opportunity for the public to weigh into the select board on comment. We do ask, though, that if your comments are relative to anything on the agenda, that you wait until it comes up to that agenda item. So at this time, I will open it up to public comment. And if you would, when you come to the podium, please state your name and your address for the record.
My name is Dan Kopansky, 5 Holly Court, Exeter. I've been a resident for 30 years here at Exeter. My condolences again to Anne and her Anne's family. It's just the first I've heard of it, and it's a heartfelt moment for all of us here. This may seem petty in regards to what we've just talked and heard, but thank you for the opportunity to share my thoughts. I'm going to be away the next meeting, so this is my only opportunity to bring this up. I have a comment regarding the upcoming proposal to convert courts at the rec field to pickleball-only courts. Based upon my experience, I'm strongly against converting the 3 courts into pickleball-only courts. The usage and demand for tennis far exceeds that of pickleball. There are numerous times when I arrive at the courts and find them completely filled with only tennis players using the courts, and I need to wait for a court to open up as it already is. I support pickleball usage at the courts since I play and enjoy both tennis and pickleball. I think that the decision to have pickleball lines drawn on the courts were a good idea. As it stands now, I can play either pickleball or tennis on any court at the rec field. However, the conversion of 3 courts to pickleball-only courts will prevent those courts from being able to be used for tennis use. Therefore, the courts should stay as they are currently configured so that all the courts can be used by both pickleball and tennis players. Thank you.
Sir, thank you for your comment. That will be reflected in our minutes when the minutes come in, the fact that you gave a public comment on this. But further, if you would like to write a letter or an email to the board,
Yes.
Outlining what you just said, we will include that in the packet for the May 9th meeting.
Okay, and what address should I use?
If you go on the website, my email addresses, all of our email addresses are on there, but if you send it to any of us, we'll get it to the town manager and include it in the packet.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry.
Any other public comment? Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Thanks for everybody's service to the town. My condolences to the Sermon family. Kevin Keaveney, 14 Exeter Farms Road.
Thank you.
Just to echo on Dan's comments, I will be at that meeting on May 9th, but I'd just like to state that, ideally one would not want to take away from tennis. This wasn't well publicized. I'd like to recommend that the rec department hold a public forum so that the tennis and pickleball communities can have a fair and informed process. A decision shouldn't happen until that occurs. The tennis community is a significantly large community that needs to weigh in on this and work together to find the right solution. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yep.
Any other public comment, sir?
Matthew Phillips, 11 Exeter Farms. I would just like to echo Dan and Kevin. Would just like to ask that we take a measured approach to taking something that has been working very well together for so long and dedicating it to one sport versus another. It's like I like to play Frisbee, and it's like saying I'd like to take those soccer fields away so I can play Frisbee. So, we can coexist, and it's worked very well so far, and I hope that we can come to a workable solution. So I would like to take a measured approach to make sure that we're doing the right thing, and maybe that is converting some, but maybe it is keeping it the way it is. Thank you.
Terrific. Thank you, sir. Any other public comment? I do see one attendee with a hand up on Zoom, Mr. Dean. I don't know, is anybody in the back to help us with this? Or
Garrett's back there.
Garrett, yeah.
there's an individual with their hand up, Stephen Sprinkle.
He's now able to speak.
He's now able to speak, I'm told.
Okay. Sir, good evening. If you can hear me, if you could state your name and address for the record and give us your public comment, please.
I didn't have my hand up. Okay.
Yep.
Hi, good evening, sir. Can you hear us?
I can hear you. I'd like to echo the comments of the other gentleman that the dual use right now seems to work, and I don't see any reason to change that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Okay. Okay, seeing no other public comment, we'll move on. We do not have any board interviews this evening. We do have proclamation to read. May 17th, 2022 is municipal
You
clerk.
guys don't want to stay for the entire meeting? Have a great night. Thank you.
Thank you so much to all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, here we are again.
And now it feels like home.
So, Madam Clerk, we have a proclamation to read.
Yes, Mr. Chair, as a proclamation, May 1st through 7th, Municipal Clerks Week. Whereas the office of the municipal clerk, a time-honored and vital part of local government, exists throughout the world, and whereas the office of the municipal clerk is the oldest among public servants, and whereas the office of the municipal clerk provides the professional link between the citizens, the local governing bodies and agencies of government at other levels, and whereas the municipal clerks have pledged to be ever mindful of their neutrality and impartiality, rendering equal service to all, and whereas the municipal clerk serves as the information center on functions of local government and community, and whereas municipal clerks continually strive to improve the administration of the affairs of the office of the municipal clerk through participation in education programs, seminars, workshops, and the annual meetings of their state, provincial, county, and international professional organizations. And whereas it's most appropriate that we recognize the accomplishments of the office of the municipal clerk, and now, therefore, and we, the Select Board of Exeter, do recognize the week of May 1st through May 7th, 2022 as Municipal Clerks Week, and further extend appreciation to our municipal clerk, Andrea Kohler, and to all municipal clerks for the vital services they perform and their exemplary dedication to the communities they represent. Dated this 25th day of April 2022.
Great. Thank you, Madam Clerk. And moving on, we come to our meeting minutes from the Select Board meeting of April 12th, 2022. I would first ask the board if there are any revisions or amendments. And seeing none, I would entertain a motion to approve the Exeter Select Board regular meeting minutes of April 11th, 2022.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. We do have an appointment this evening from an interview at our last meeting. I would entertain a motion to appoint Andrew Elliott to the Budget Recommendations Committee.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Thank you, Mr. Elliott. We look forward to working with you. And we will jump right into our discussion items. And
Is this where the meeting is?
yes, this is the Select Board meeting.
The Select Board meeting?
The meeting for the address change for Revolving.
Oh.
That was withdrawn from the agenda.
I
had it on certified mail and turned all the way around from Epping to come back. I didn't know that. Okay, so there isn't a meeting tonight?
Not tonight. That's been postponed, that item. There is a meeting. We're in the meeting.
We're in the meeting right
now. But that has been postponed.
Mr. Dean?
Per the E911 committee,
Okay.
they actually requested that be postponed.
Okay, all right.
Sorry about that.
Sorry.
We can reach out for the May 9th meeting if it's in order at that point.
Chief, excuse me first. I don't mean to take it. How can we work on, if we notified neighbors by mail, did we also notify them that it was?
We do it usually directly via phone.
Okay. Can we follow up to see if we
Yes.
reached out to her? Thank you.
We will.
Appreciate that. Chief Wilking, I'm sorry.
As long as you don't ask me a question about the E911 committee, we've delegated that off. That's always a fun time when you're talking about addresses and numbers and all that. But thank you very much. You have in your packet a request from the fire department to replace our air lifting bag system. It's just under 20 years old. We've been doing visual inspections on the bags, and to our knowledge, they were in good shape. We recently found a bag that was leaking, which kind of had us bring in the manufacturer's rep, and they looked at the bags and they found a lot more dry rot and cracks in the bags than we ever did visually. They recommend replacing the bags after 15 years. And as I mentioned in the memo and when I spoke to Town Manager Russ Dean, these are kind of out of cycle. We hadn't planned on buying these this year. We would have budgeted for them in the operational budget if we'd known. But because they're an integral part of our safety system, allowing us to lift objects like vehicles off to get underneath, and we had an opportunity right here in town at an industrial facility to lift about an 8-ton machine off of an employee that it had fallen onto. The bags are very important. We've got a couple of prices on the bags. The system that is in your packet, the Paratech system, we believe is the best system, allowing us to have a large set of bags on our rescue engine and a small set of bags on another piece. And it does happen to be the lower cost option. Neither are inexpensive, but the Paratech bags are $19,785. Comparable, same company that's selling us our breathing apparatus. The Industrial Protection Services has offered a Hamatro set of bags for a little over $21,000. So we've looked at them. We've had both vendors in, and we would like your permission to purchase 9 lift bag set and a master controller and a 3 lift bag set with a basic controller for the cost of $19,785 from the ambulance revolving fund, so we can get these bags moving as soon as we can.
Okay, thank you, Chief. Any questions for Chief Wilking?
I just have a comment. The EMS revolving fund currently has a balance of $190,000 in it, so it's carrying enough funds to be able to make this purchase.
Okay, thank you for that.
And that is absolutely important. Just kind of a preface, we will likely be back, we hope sooner than later, but we have applied for a state grant of $50,000 toward EMS equipment. Every community was offered the money. Is simply, I don't want to make it sound like a done deal, but everyone had to apply, and then they're going to do it. And that has a 10% match to it. So the equipment we're looking at are outfitting both of our current ambulances, what they call an auto-load or power load system. So the system comes out to the ground, we push the cot on, and then the system loads, a lot like a My Box, if you've ever seen that. The patient doesn't get tipped off, but load on. And it's going to be in the neighborhood of $57,000. So the 7 that's over the 50 plus the match puts us at about $12,000. So we'll look at that a month or 2 from now, when assuming we're positive with the grant. So we want to make sure that fund is well funded and maintained, but we'll likely come back in a bit looking for about $12,000 to finish that grant process too. So
Thank you, Chief.
Not to muddy the waters now, but I just thought I'd give you a
No, I
quick
appreciate that, and I appreciate you looking out and applying for the grants. Okay, if there are no other questions or comments, I would entertain a motion to allow the fire department to expend $19,785 from the ambulance revolving fund for the purpose of purchasing airlifting bags and controllers used during motor vehicle accidents, building collapses, and special rescue situations.
So moved.
Oh, I'll second.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? The motion was by Selectwoman Roundtree Olaf, the second by Selectwoman Belanger. Okay, no comments. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you all very much.
Okay. It's that time of year again where we reappoint volunteers whose terms are set to expire April 30th. We've got quite a few here, so we can start with the planning board. Would the board prefer to do, well, let's do one at a time. So I would entertain a motion to reappoint Langdon Plummer to the planning board for a term to expire April 30th, 2025.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. And I would entertain a motion to reappoint Gwen English to the planning board for a term to expire April 30th, 2025.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed unanimously. Mr. Dean, is it appropriate to group them by board where the terms are the same, or?
I believe you can do that, yes.
Any opposition from the board?
No.
Okay. Next, we have the Rec Advisory Board. I would entertain a motion to reappoint both Mike Whistler and Jennifer Harrington to a term to expire April 30th, 2025.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Entertain a motion to reappoint Laura Davies to the Zoning Board of Adjustment for a term to expire April 30th, 2025.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. I'd entertain a motion to reappoint Andrew Koff and Connor Madison to the Conservation Commission for terms to expire April 30th, 2025.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Entertain a motion to reappoint Bill Campbell to the Heritage Commission for a term to expire April 30th, 2025.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. And entertain a motion to reappoint Lindsay Sonnet and Kathy Corson to the Housing Advisory Committee for terms to expire April 30th, 2025.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Entertain a motion to reappoint Terry Harmon to the River Advisory Committee for a term to expire April 30th, 2025.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. I'd entertain a motion to reappoint Christopher Ziegmont and Jackie Ojala to the Sustainability Advisory Committee for terms to expire April 30th, 2025.
So moved.
Second.
Motion second. Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. I would entertain a motion to reappoint Carl Wickstrom and Mark Fabian to the Water Sewer Advisory Committee for terms to expire April 30th, 2025.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. And finally, motion to reappoint Todd Herron to the Arts and Culture Advisory Commission for a term to expire April 30th, 2025.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. And thank you to all those who have volunteered for another term. Okay. Mr. Dean, do you want to take up the next discussion item, which is discussion of the hardship abatement policy?
Sure. This is a policy that we've drafted up to deal with hardship abatement situations. Right now, we have a water sewer abatement policy that's in place and has been for several years, but we've actually not had a tax abatement policy for extenuating circumstances. So what we did is we actually modeled this after another town, and we did draw up not just the policy, but we also included forms that we would have filled out when someone comes to the town looking for a hardship abatement. And ultimately, these are decisions that the board is going to be the ones in charge of making. So we felt like it was a good idea to have a written policy to follow for when people came to us with this kind of a question. So that's really an overview of it, and you can look through the application forms, and I know it's a first read of the policy, so if you want to just go through it on your time, and we can bring it back to another meeting after you've had the chance to review it and make any comments or have questions about it. Right now, there's a three-tier. What we're looking at is a three-tier system. Essentially, Tier 3 is an interest waiver. Tier 2 is a full tax waiver, and then Tier 1 is an abatement of taxes within the current year. Mm-hmm. So that's how we're looking to manage this process. But we think we've got enough need out there, I would say, that we would want to have a policy to follow and forms to be filled out when somebody came to us with this kind of an issue. And that way we wouldn't be shooting in the dark and really not know what a person's situation is. We're not trying to make it cumbersome for them. We do want to help them fill out these forms, and we would definitely be available for that. And I know that, the assessing office has similar forms, and they have people fill them out for exemptions. So this really would be following that kind of a thing.
I have a couple questions. First, who would be designated or delegated to assist in filling out the forms?
Yeah, so this has, application shall be reviewed by the town manager or his or her designee. So we were hoping to link it to the human services function of the office, and that's what we would have people filling out the forms there.
Yeah.
But if there's a different way to go about it and you feel more
Just
comfortable
asking.
with somewhere else, we could make that happen.
What if folks are unavailable to come in because of mobility issues?
That's a great question. I don't have an answer for you tonight.
And
But
then
that's a good question.
the other thing is, I don't know, I mean, we've all sat through our share of these. Do we really need to dig into all of the expenses and asset information? And I mean, it seems like where we're trying not to make it cumbersome, we've just made it incredibly cumbersome. And I don't know that we really need to have their vehicle information. I don't know. I mean, that's just my initial thought. We're asking for a lot of personal information here.
Is that something that we use to base an approval or denial off?
On an exemption,
But not when we waive or give an abatement, it's just based on the market.
or right now,
Sure.
that's how
Yeah.
it's done. Right.
I mean, to me, it just seems like we're diving in a little deeper than I think we need to. That's my thought. I don't know.
So, is the goal here to cut down on numbers of exemptions that are being filed, or to increase them? Or maybe that's not the purpose at all?
Well, we were looking for a strategy to go to the amount of properties that we have in the town that are behind on their taxes. It tends to be predominantly properties where the board has issued a deed waiver in the past because we would owe lot rent and have a liability otherwise. And we were looking at the idea of going to these property owners and doing more outreach. And I know that that's something that has been brought up before as sort of a how do we do that? And this is a mechanism by which we could go to somebody and say, if you are applying for an abatement and we could check their qualifications to make sure it fit, then we could put them through this process. But we would have a process to document the abatements.
And would there be an opportunity for people to apply for different sorts of aid that they maybe didn't know that they were entitled to?
That could be part of it. As we do that outreach, we might find that there is additional assistance for them in other places.
So that would be my reason for having the abatements kind of cross over from taxes to human services.
Right.
And then the human services, some places have these kind of requests, but I don't know that we want to. I mean, this is like a Medicaid application.
I don't think I went through this much paperwork when I closed on my house.
Yeah, that's a lot.
So maybe what we can do is put this sort of in abeyance for now, and maybe the board members can make comments, and we can process those comments and try to come back maybe with something that's more streamlined.
I mean, that makes sense to me. I mean, I went through this weekend, but I wanted to ask these questions of you and try to get an idea of what we were trying to accomplish.
Yeah.
So is that acceptable to the board?
Well, and I think that I would love to put a plug in to say, if we are going to collect information, and I can understand that there would be some sort of use, but I would want to make it so that it's more inclusive and we're offering more help to people rather than using more details or being like, well, you have a new truck, so obviously you can, I don't want that to be a barrier to service. And I want to say, okay, so you didn't think that you would maybe qualify for some of the services, but now upon reviewing your file, you can, request a grant from the Wentworth trustees if you are a single woman, or if you're a woman head of the household. There's, other things that we could maybe qualify you for. And maybe it is even to just let people have a little bit extra money so that they can get themselves out of the tax trouble that they're in.
Right.
Or, we are making sure that we are getting our citizens the kind of help that they are entitled to.
And so we have, right now, we have about $250,000 that's outstanding in taxes amongst all the properties that we're talking about. So again, we're trying to come up with a mechanism to have a conversation in that regard and just and be able to put something forward. So it doesn't help our books either if we have, this is not the human side of it, but the other side, the financial side, is we want to be able to write off certain amounts of taxes that we won't ever see to keep our books cleaner. So that's another reason why we've drafted something up to consider.
Yeah, can I just follow up on what, so estimated value of furniture, jewelry, tools, their cars, do we ask that with the tax, in the tax department? Are those things?
No, the tax abatement, in the tax department, the abatement is basically a request because of the valuation.
Right, okay.
And then
Thank you.
what this is talking about is when someone comes in and says, I just can't pay, can you abate the interest or,
Yeah, and I just
last
wanna-
year or
thank
something
you.
like that?
Yeah.
And assets are part of our elderly exemption program. They're part of our current program on exemptions. So we have
Yeah, but not-
asset limits.
I know, but so if somebody has an heirloom piece of jewelry, do you see what I'm saying?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah,
Because
I understand.
If somebody was given a vehicle that the value is up that they didn't pay for, I mean, I'm just, I'll pick this up later. There are a few questions here that I
think this is meant to fill that gap between like an elderly exemption where you do have to prove your income and statements and things like that, and that's an exemption, to an actual abatement based on property value. And then there are these people that fall between those cracks. They're either they don't qualify for the elderly exemption for some purpose, for some reason, but they also can't make their payments.
Yeah.
So
I just
this
don't
is
know how much we want to.
Yeah,
I think this is diving way too.
Yeah.
And where would these be in paper files? Would they be recorded electronically?
I think we'd have them in paper files.
Because if it's done electronically, we risk the liability should the town ever suffer a cyber attack and all of this information is stored. You also, this is a lot of personal information that would be stored. I just don't know that we should be comfortable with that.
Well, and I mean, there are some things like, I want to make this so that we're increasing services and not requiring somebody to sell their grandmother's pearl. That's not, I don't think that has a place in anything.
Well, that's what we've found on one occasion, at least, that somebody couldn't make their tax and then interest payments and gave us a description of the reasons that had come to the lack of funding. And it really looked like a case that this person didn't know what support services were out there. So that's what we're trying to get to here, is to connect, rather than hear about it from the tax assessor's office, that maybe we want to be able to direct them somewhere before it comes to us at a really dire point.
Well, I agree, but I don't know that all of this is necessary.
No, I agree.
I mean, we've met with enough folks that if they look at this and this is what they have to do, they may just not even come to us at all. And I mean,
be like, well, I'm not estimating.
Okay, so board, we have this. We can make our notes, and Mr. Dean, we can revisit this and status quo for now.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we're very interested in your feedback.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Am I invading your space there?
No, I am invading yours.
Madam Clerk, whenever you're ready, you are.
I'm on,
Next
huh?
discussion item, legislative updates by
Oh, I thought we were doing something.
Selectwoman Gilman.
Oh, where to begin? Let's see. Well, we met on the 21st and went through several, not enough bills, I think, considering how many more times we're going to have to meet. And some of the highlights are, let's see. There's some that are just not. Well, the biggest thing that happened actually was in the Senate. House Bill 1272, which is the authority of the health officer. The House bill changed the duties to just property-centric, I can't even think of my words tonight, regulations, so that if it dealt with, infestations of some kind or the building was falling over, that's the only thing that the health officer could go and make any kind of recommendation or regulation or request a regulation of. But the Senate found that the bill didn't afford us the ability to react to a crisis, as the pandemic, or let's say equine encephalitis mosquitoes that you can't keep to one property. So they voted it inexpedient to legislate, and it was killed. Oh, no, it wasn't killed, I'm sorry. It's going to the Senate floor on the 28th. Yeah, and that will, but it's recommended by the committee to just kill it. The other one that's good is the modifying the attorney exemptions under RSA 91. House bill had been planned to let any communications with the town's attorney, any of our town's attorney, including union negotiators, et cetera, would not be subject to the right to know law, meaning anything we talk to our attorney about, any case that comes up against us, trying to make our strategy for response would be public. And so that anybody that wants to know what we're thinking about something coming up would be able to see it. But that one was killed. It is gone. I'm trying to think of the other ones. There's one relative to the disqualification of certain persons from performing the duties of an election official. This one's aimed actually at moderators. Because the question comes, if you're running for the position of moderator and you are the moderator, can you handle the ballots that have your name on them? And the bill and then the current RSAs conflict in that the moderator has to be the one elected who then has to serve the votes to the select board for, counting. So, and the same would go for the select board. And they didn't actually talk about, they just said any elected position. And if your name is on the ballot, you can't handle the ballots. And that is fine enough. That's already on the books. And in fact, when I have run, I just don't even go in the polls and I get a substitute, which is also on the books right now. So that one came off the floor as ought to pass. So we'll see what the governor has to say about that one. Let's see, absentee ballot. Absentee ballots allowing the town clerks, municipal clerks, to open the outside envelope of an absentee ballot with the request stapled to it. Allowing them to open those as they come in, not the ballot envelope, but the outer envelope where the request is. That one went down, so we cannot pre-process ballots until the day of. And then there's the affidavit voting. This one is really not very nice. Affidavit voting is for people that show up without identification or don't want to give you identification, or are registering on the day of and do not have all the applicable materials, which has become quite an extensive list. This bill would set up a whole different voting system for people that don't have an ID. The ballots would be a different color. They would be hand counted. The name of the person would be put on a list and given a serial number. That serial number is on the bottom of the ballot. Then, so those ballots are put aside to be hand counted. The person has 12 days, I think, to prove to there's FedEx envelopes involved and time stamped, and person has a form to fill out and show whatever proofs of identity that they didn't provide to the clerk or the supervisors of the checklist, and they get sent back to the Attorney General, who reviews them, and if they find a problem with it, then town clerk's going to get a call and say, pull out ballot XYZ, which has the person's name on it, so it gets rid of the secret ballot system. It's just horrendous, but it passed out of the House. That's waiting for the governor. Let's see that. Sorry, there are 12 pages. Okay. Tabled. Postpartum health care one passed. It allows for Medicaid to cover postpartum health care for a year as opposed to 6 months, which is really good because things don't show up within 6 months. Okay, there are several that are too hard to explain, but in the Children and Family Services or Health and Human Services, there are quite a few about children in need and children that need to be placed and try to keep them out of, we actually send children out of state, like to Florida, if they have some behavioral problem that we don't have enough beds to provide. And one of these bills deals with that by trying to establish a different advocate system. Okay. The Hampton Beach Pier. I don't know if anybody else has heard about that one. Hampton Beach is a national park. And there's a proposal to build a nice long pier out onto it, and I kind of like to think about it as the Santa Monica Pier. Not that it's going to have a Ferris wheel on it or anything, but it's proposed to be a nice long pier that goes way out in the water off of Hampton Beach, and that was passed. The Senate districts, the state Senate districts and Executive Council district redistricting bills both passed from the House passed both of the Senate's versions of it, so they're on to the governor.
Will he keep his word?
He is indicating so.
Okay.
But it remains to be seen.
I was just going to say that.
No, there was another one. There's a bill on the tax cap. Yeah, bill for procedure for how to override a tax cap in SB2 towns. The House passed it. It's in the Senate. And they have heard it, but they haven't reported out yet. And I know, Mr. Dean, you probably have a question about something or other, if you know of any other ones that I should speak to.
No, I was going to go over HB 398 one more time in my report.
Oh.
Which has been signed by the governor.
Yes.
So maybe I don't have to now.
Well, no, I'll let you do that one because it's a fun thing to do.
Wastewater state aid grant.
Yes, there's that, and they also have passed the roads and what are the other ones? State highway and highway grants and highways and bridges.
Bridge aid.
Yeah, that's been passed. There is a bill that went through my committee and onto the House floor and was rejected on the floor to affecting cooperative school board districts or school board membership voting. Right now we elect as a cooperative district, we elect our people at large, and that's why Exeter voters can vote on who's representing Newfields and Brentwood, et cetera. This bill wanted to make each town vote only for their representatives. So Exeter would only vote on Exeter, Newfields would only vote on Newfields, et cetera, et cetera. Not very cooperative, if you ask me. That failed in the House, but since then, a representative from Stratham, Representative Abrami, has introduced it as a non-germane amendment to...
The Keno bill, right?
No. Hold on, let me look. I think it's 383. I had it written down, but... Oops. I'm getting the wrong number. Okay, hold on a second. It's in standing committees. Give me just a second. It's coming up in the House Education Committee. It's an amendment to a Senate bill. 353. So the original the original bill was about well, it was actually something rather, well, not minor, but I was to add an education professional or instructional specialist to the Education Professional Standards Board. And so this addition or amendment to basically put that bill through by tucking it onto a Senate bill is called a non-germane amendment, is being heard on the 26th or 7th in the Education Committee. And then we'll come to and I think they're 26th, 27th, I believe. But it's not too late to contact your Education Committee members and say to vote against SB 353 as amended. And the single short-term rentals bill has went to interim study in the House. I think they're still going to try to finagle something with it, but pretty much the writing's on the wall that nobody wants to do this piece of legislation, so I don't expect it to get to the governor's desk. And I think I'll leave it there.
Okay, thank you. You've been busy?
Yes.
Any questions for Selectwoman Gilman? Great. Thank you, Julie, for keeping us up to speed with everything. We will move on to regular business, Madam Clerk, and I will turn it over to you. But first, Mr. Dean, I meant to ask you, the bottom under property exemptions, it said list of properties attached. I don't know what that means.
Attachment.
Those should all be in your folder, the assessment folder.
Oh.
There's a list of charitable exemptions that are applied for every year, and that's actually the list.
Okay.
The list must be too voluminous to put on a single sheet.
Okay.
So what do you want to do with that?
If you want to wait till you have a chance to review the folder, I think that's fine.
I looked at the ones that are out here, and I just kind of ignored that list.
These are the A9s, charitable exemptions?
Yeah, I would like to table those till our next meeting.
Okay. I agree. So
All right.
with that, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay. Mr. Chair, I move to approve a disability exemption for MAP 95, Lot 64, Unit 307, in the amount of $125,000 for the year 2022.
Second?
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 5-0.
I move to approve a disability exemption for MAP 95, Lot 64, Unit 335, in the amount of $125,000 for the year 2022.
Second?
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 5-0.
I move to approve an elderly exemption for MAP 104, Lot 79, Unit 911, in the amount of $183,751 for the tax year 2022.
Second?
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 5-0.
I move to approve an elderly exemption for MAP 104, Lot 79, Unit 225, in the amount of $152,251 for year 2022.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 5-0.
I move to approve an elderly exemption for MAP 95, Lot 64, Unit 302, in the amount of $152,251 for tax year 2022.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 5-0.
I move to approve a veterans credit for MAP 65, Lot 124, Unit 32, in the amount of $500 for 2022.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion 5-0.
I move to approve veterans credit for MAP 65, Lot 124, Unit 32, in the amount of $2,000 for disabled credit.
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 5-0.
Okay, I move to approve a veterans credit for MAP 69, Lot 3, Unit 406, in the amount of $500 for year 2022.
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 5-0.
Mr. Dean, I don't, what is the already receives 500 for this next one?
That could be a veteran's exemption or veteran's credit.
So why isn't it like the other ones? Excuse me.
Because there's more that this property is eligible for. So this is more like 105 Portsmouth Ave, number 32, which is a disability exemption, or disabled veterans credit.
But what's the already receives 500 mean?
Right, I believe that means that they already qualify for a veteran's credit, the base credit of $500.
Okay.
And so this is approving the disability veteran's credit of $2,000 to go with that.
Okay, thank you.
All right, I move to approve MAP 52, Lot 96, veterans credit for disabled veteran in the amount of $2,000.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
Mr. Chair, the next 4 tax abatements are for the same property but different years. If there are no objections, I would do them in one motion.
Please.
I move to approve a tax abatement for MAP 104, Lot 79, Unit 602, in the amounts of $420.52 for tax year 2018, $595.93 for the tax year 2019, $626.62 for the year 2020, and $14.41 for the year 2021.
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
I move to approve a tax abatement for MAP 64, Lot 105, Unit 42, in the amount of $388.96 for 2021.
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
And the charitable and educational property exemptions we will take up next meeting.
And again, those are mainly your religious institutions of the town, PEA and the hospital.
Okay.
And Riverwoods.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Clerk. We do not have any permits and approvals this evening, so Mr. Dean, the town manager's report, please.
Okay, I just had a few things tonight. The facilities condition assessment RFP that's been sent out to vendors, so we're looking to get some back. We've already had quite a bit of interest in it, so hopefully we'll be able to solicit some good proposals out of that process. The town audit on May 23rd through the 27th, the field work will begin on our audit, and our new finance director, Mr. Stevens, has been very diligent in working all those channels, especially the audit. I mentioned earlier that HB 398 is fully funded and now it's signed by the governor, so that's official, and we will begin seeing our first payment for that in their FY23. So after July 1st of 2022, it will come to the town. The public safety building process is ongoing. There is a public input session on May 4th at 6 p.m. at the town hall. We're hoping to get a good turnout for that to explain what the options have been so far for public safety and invite public input on that. An interesting proposal that's come forward, and it hasn't reached the board level yet, but there is a company called Bird Scooter who is very interested in having Exeter be a town where they offer their service. And we just went through a Zoom call with them today. There's a lot of detail to it, including it runs through an app, and basically the company hires what they call fleet managers to administer the program within the town. So as you're sort of thinking about things, just keep a mind on that, because that will be coming to the board at some point for discussion.
And what kind of service is it?
It's a scooter service. So basically you could take, my understanding is you download an app and it's 18 plus, but you're able to get a scooter and go from one place to another with it in the town. So we basically have these little depots set up, is my understanding, as to where people could go with it.
Scooter rentals?
That's what it would be.
Like the city bikes.
Yeah, it's very similar to that. I guess my understanding is Nashua has this service already, so I believe that's their only foothold in New Hampshire, it seemed like. But if you're looking to find an example of it, that's where it is.
Okay.
Interesting.
Okay.
We should talk.
Would they be giving us a
Demo?
Or a presentation?
The company would be making a presentation to the board.
No, I want demo.
Selectwoman Gilman is volunteering to scoot down Water Street and see how it works.
If I can stay steady and upright on it, then it passes.
So other news is we've finalized our solid waste extension with Waste Management. That was something the board gave authorization to do a few meetings back, and we've finished that process up. And I also want to thank Melissa Roy, our Assistant Town Manager, who very diligently pulled together applications for the Congressional Direct Spending Program. So we're in the hunt again for funding for 10 Hampton Road and, amongst other things, police radios.
Terrific. Wonderful.
So we'll see what happens. And that's my report, unless there are questions.
Isn't one of the House bills for I think the bridge and road or highway aid also had the body and dashboard cameras for state fleet vehicles on it? Maybe they jammed that in.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I just know that our body cameras have been fully covered by the Congressional Direct Spend and the state program.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Dean? Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Select Board Committee reports. I'll start down this way this time. Selectwoman Roundtree-Olaf.
Nothing to share. I think you might have been present for the Swayze Parkway trustees for me.
I did. Thank you. Selectwoman Cowan.
We had the Communications Advisory meeting last Wednesday, and we just really talked in depth about the launch of the new website.
Good.
Great. Selectwoman Gilman. Thank you.
I had, all my meetings were canceled, so all I had was state things to read about this week. Next week, I have a Parks and Rec committee, I think.
Do the rec now?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. I still have it on my calendar as a recurring event.
So next week?
Well, that's when it would be, but I know that they changed to going to
confirmed if there is one?
No.
I do not. I think they went quarterly. Did they not?
We just at the last meeting though. So I don't know when their quarter starts.
We can confirm with you though.
Okay. Thanks for picking that up because I would have gone. That's it.
Right. Okay. Selectwoman Belanger.
Okay. So I need to do an update on my Housing Advisory Committee report from our last meeting. The May 6th Regional Conversation on Housing is a public forum now. It is on Friday, May 6th from 9 to 11 at our town hall, so please attend, anyone who is available. Okay, so meetings. I had the Conservation Commission on April 12th. They sent out an RFP on Rains Barn. The McDonald Gate is now open with volunteer support for the Conservation Commission off of Linden Street. The gateway deed was signed by the chair of the Conservation Committee that the Select Board approved on 4/11. The Jolly Ran Trail Maintenance, they were going to reach out to Jay Perkins to have a conversation about how they can better serve that trail. The All Life Festival is coming up. It is May 14th with a rain date of May 21st. It's at Founders Park near the library. I encourage everyone to attend. There's going to be a lot of fun things to do there. Okay, and DPW was looking for a letter of support for a culvert that was failing off of Drinkwater Road, and they passed $900 to pay for the fees, the dues for New Hampshire Association of Conservation Commissions, which was part of the budget. Then I also attended the planning board on 4/14 for the Phillips Exeter Academy project for a multifamily site plan review. We also did a site walk on the April 20th, the morning of April 20th, just to get a good view. So there is no meeting for the planning board as of our last meeting on the 28th. So I think the next meeting is the 12th. I don't do the agenda, so I can't say that the Phillips Exeter project is on there, but keep an eye out.
Okay.
And almost. I also attended.
My goodness, I thought I was busy.
Yeah, I
You
know.
may have been busier.
Yeah.
April 13th, there was a demonstration for the possibility of using pole pads. I did have to leave the meeting early because I had a meeting with the town manager. However, it was preliminary. It was talking about the possibilities of using these computer, what do you call them, like iPads almost, and the possibilities of how it might save the town clerk, supervisor of the checklist, the ballot clerks, time, money. It's all preliminary. So, but it was an exciting demonstration.
Yeah.
That's it.
All right.
I'll tell you, that's not going too well in the house.
I'm not surprised. But
We want everything hand counted.
right. This is check-in. This is
I don't care.
Okay.
You
So
gotta
this is literally just for the ballot clerks to check people in, and it will help the supervisor of the checklist update things much quicker. And it's also the same company that we get our polling, our ballot machines from. So.
Thank you.
My report. Thank you.
You had a busy 2 weeks.
Can I just add on to what she said? I've forgotten what I wanted to say, so never mind.
Well, I'm going to talk about the Swayze Park meeting briefly, and if it comes to mind, we can. So yeah, I was able to attend the Swayze Park meeting, and they talked again about Arbor Day next week. There's 5 firms that are going to come in, tree cutting firms, and volunteer their services to the town in the Swayze Park to do some of the tree work that we were looking to have done. And the estimate of the work is around $19,000 or $20,000, and they're going to do it for free. The Swayze Park Committee voted to provide breakfast and lunch to the companies that are going to be doing the work at an expense that would be under $1,000. So I think that's a great value to the town. Some of the local eateries in town are going to be utilized for breakfast and lunch. So I know the press has been notified try to get some recognition for both the firms and the local restaurants that are going to be contributing that day. So I think that's great.
When is it happening?
Arbor Day is next week.
Of course.
Actually, it's this week. I'm sorry. I beg your pardon. It's
Yeah.
later this week, on Friday.
Is that something, a spectator sport?
Well, here's the thing. They are working with DPW Jay Perkins to close off the parkway to traffic, obviously, for safety purposes. Pedestrians will be allowed to walk through the parkway as they normally would. A former Swayze Park trustee, Mr. Damsel, has offered his time to kind of guide people to where they should be. And Dave Short, who's a current trustee, is going to be there as well. So yeah, folks will be able to walk through and safely watch from a distance.
I have a couple of 30-year-old hard hats. People want to borrow them.
In addition to that, discussion was held over, they were going to talk with Jay Perkins and Highway about putting up some additional speed signs. I believe there's only one that states the speed on either. So they were going to work with Jay on that. And then, Mr. Dean, you and I talked about possibly the town providing signage, bring in and bring out in terms of trash. We don't have any signage really for that. And it's also for that reason that they decided not to investigate whether the trustees would provide porta potties on the parkway. In the past, what's happened, because you have to have them handicap accessible, they're the larger porta potties, and they end up being huge dumpsters for trash. So, anybody that permits the parkway, when applicable, would have to provide their own porta potties. And that was discussion of that meeting. Did you think of?
I did not.
Okay. Well, let's move on then to correspondence. We had a few letters, the first of which was from Attorney Mitchell, Town Council. Again, encouraging the board to do whatever we can to discourage HB 1073 that we discussed earlier. There's a letter to the board from the Facilities Advisory Committee on their suggestions as to the DPW garage that, once again, did not pass on the warrant. Mr. Dean, it almost looks like they wanted a spot on the agenda at some point.
Yes, and I'm a little confused just because I watched the video of the last Facilities Advisory Committee meeting, and it seemed like that this was a draft.
Okay.
And that they wanted to refine it further with some other committee input before it got to the board, but it got to our office and it's got the board on it, so that's why you have it. But I think this is going to be altered further, and they're going to have more conversation about it.
So it's in the packet on the record. Let's wait for them, and they can come back to this when they're ready. That sounds good. There's going to be a community forum on aging at the Exeter Public Library from 11:30 to 1:30 or 4:30 to 6:30 on Thursday, May 12th.
Speak about that for a second.
Please.
There's a group that the Rockingham Planning Commission and I think other planning commissions are doing this outreach. And it's about age-friendly communities. And this survey's been out there in several forms. I think it was at might have been at the ballots voting in March, but it's been here, it's online, and Parks and Rec, and it's, so this is a presentation, or not a presentation, but a round meet and greet, and tell us what you want to see in town for as you grow older. It isn't just for older folks, it's for you with the young children and how you're going to stay in place, or are you not going to stay in place? Do you expect your kids to stick around? That kind of thing. So that's what this forum is going to gather even more information and present what we got from the previous survey.
Thank you. And finally, we had letters from Big Brothers, Big Sisters, and New Generation, respectively, thanking the town for monetary donations. And before we get to the board calendar, again, I'd like to remind folks of the public forum on May 4th. Mr. Dean, that's at Town Hall?
At Town Hall.
To discuss the future of the public safety complex. And we
Starting at 6.
Hoping a lot of folks can attend and we can get some valuable input. And Board calendar, we meet again on May 9th and May 23rd.
I have a conflict on May 23rd.
You do, okay.
And this time I will not be able to zoom in from a train.
So if we meet on the 16th because of Memorial Day, that would mean 3 weeks between meetings. Let's revisit that date on the 9th.
Yeah.
You could either, well, let me ask the board, will we have the four of us on the 23rd if Selectwoman Cowan's not here?
Yes.
I'll be here.
Okay.
The other question is, you want to do, oh, never mind.
We could have done one of the other Memorial Days the following.
Well, no, I was thinking if we do it on Tuesday, the 31st after Memorial Day, but it's just because it's sort of Monday.
That's a possibility.
Yep.
Can we see what's going to be on the,
Yeah.
like, after the 9th and see how intense the...
Yeah. So, Mr. Dean, we'll revisit that on the 9th.
Sure.
Either the 16th, 23rd, or 31st.
Okay.
Speaking of Memorial Day, Florence Ruffner from the Memorial Day Parade Committee reached out to me over the weekend to invite the Select Board to march in the parade on that Monday, and I will get the time that she'd like us to meet and all of the information for the next meeting. So to put that on our calendars. And finally, I would entertain a motion to go into non-public session again under RSA 91A:3(2)A.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Madam Clerk?
Selectwoman Roundtree Olaf.
Aye.
Selectwoman Cowan.
Aye.
Selectwoman Belanger.
Aye.
And the clerk says aye. And Mr. Chair?
Aye. Motion passes 5-0, and we will go into non-public session. Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to Exeter TV. Exeter TV is the town's public and government access channels, available on Comcast channels 98 and 22. Channel 98 is your channel. If you have an idea for a program, want to host your own talk show, or submit a film, we're here to get your content on television. On Channel 22, we bring you live and replay coverage of government meetings and other town updates. A third channel, Blue Hawk Media, is operated by SAU 16 and can be found on Channel 13, with all your school sports, events, and meetings. You can watch Exeter TV online at exeternh.tv, Apple TV, and on Roku. Find us on social media for extra content. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell to get notified about live streams and new content. Tune in to our platforms every other Friday to watch the Exeter Biweekly Report, with recaps of recent events, updates from town departments, and messages from nonprofits in your area. If you head to our website, exeternh.tv, we invite you to sign up to our newsletter to receive monthly updates about new content, upcoming meetings, and more. We'd like to thank you for taking the time to watch Exeter TV and hope that you tune in to our other content as well.